We're in northeastern Oklahoma, not too far away from the Arkansas River. At the end of the Trail of Tears, this is the Wild Wild West. In the mid-70s, they built a track here, very suited to these rolling hills. Now, this is a very technical track. Lots of people call it their favorite track at all. And today, we're here to celebrate round number 3. This is Dodge Viper Cup.
Hi everybody and welcome to the Frontier. I'm Greg Kramer along with Tom Natchez. We're at Hallett Motor Racing Circuit for round 3 of the Dodge Viper Cup. Jennings, Oklahoma, about 35 miles west of Tulsa. This very challenging track. Let's take a look at qualifying. The front row, the 2 points leaders. Ryan Schimsk, second in the points coming in. Ben Keating leading it. Richie Hearn, the former IndyCar driver, and Keith Burgess make up row 2. Row 3, AJ Morgan and Michael Von Quillick. We go to row 4 and it's Jim Stout and Kurt Solberger. And driving the Auto Week machine is going to be in row 5, Stephen Cole Smith and Connie Bogan. And in row 6, it is Portia Belows, who did not score a qualifying time, but will be starting at the back of the pack. Good looking grid, Tom.
It really is, and you know, weather always plays a factor. This time we're trying to manage heat. From the standing start, naturally these Michelin tires hook right up, and look at the start that Ben Keating gets drawing up alongside the 67 car Shims.
Yeah, Shims just didn't quite get it moving. There's Keating. You just saw the nose. Shims, though, on the inside as we hop on board with Keating, and Shims is through and into the early lead. Unique feature of this track, you can run it counterclockwise or clockwise. Today we're running it counterclockwise. Either way, it's technical, it's challenging.
Very, very challenging, and a lot of these drivers, after coming through a day of practice, are saying just exactly that. There's more speed in here, you just have to learn the nuances. Ryan Shims, a very quick study.
Boy, is he out front and early. There's Keating tucked into second. But Ryan Shims out front looking strong. Keating just a little sideways there. And being out front here, not only is it just pleasant in terms of having nice clean track in front of you, but clean air in this 105-degree heat into that radiator. That's huge.
It's an excellent point, Greg. You know, the guys from Dodge Engineering were at the driver's meeting and they said, pop out as often as you can, because if you stay tucked in like Ben Keating is right now, you're going to run into overheating problems.
Good battling back in the pack, just a little bit, watching this beautiful field come through, these challenging corners here at Hallett Motor Racing Circuit. Back to that lead battle, Shims and Keating closing right back up again. Boy, he is all over the back. He got a great run out of the final turn and onto the front straight. Not quite close enough. Shims able to get the power down in that big Viper ACR-X and able to draw away.
You know, they're reprising their battle from round number 2 back at Virginia International Raceway. The two of them went hammer and tong for a bunch of laps here, and they've managed to break away from the rest of the pack just a little bit to give their battle a little bit of room to evolve.
Well, not exactly battling at this point in terms of getting inside cut and thrust. The two of them just have their heads down, and that is indeed allowing them to draw away from Burgess, who did get around Hearn on the start. He was able to leapfrog into third. Hearn just wasn't quite able to get it to hook up on that standing start, and Burgess able to get in front. There comes Burgess, that beautiful purple Viper. Right behind him is Richie Hearn, and then the rest of the pack back up front to this battle. Shims looks to be pretty much in control over Keating at this point, Tom.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of urgency built in as well. Owing to the weather, this race has been shortened by the organizers to 22 minutes. Now, predictively, we're thinking that's going to be 8 or 9 laps, but you never know whether yellow comes in or whatever plays. So Richie Hearn back there does look racy. He's going to make his move. He's going to have to make it soon.
We've been talking about the heat and how it affects the cars with the radiator and the airflow, but same applies for the drivers, doesn't it?
Well, absolutely. You know, these guys have been taking a beating all weekend long. Very tough to get through a whole session. There's your leaders as we go to first break. Ryan Shims, Ben Keating, Keith Burgess, Richie Hearn, and the newcomer AJ Morgan, your leaders.
With so much racing going on in the world, you'd have to be a four-headed monster to keep up with it all. Luckily, we have that. Join Peter Keene, Bill Wood, Errol Tucker, and their guest driver analyst each week for an opinionated look at the news coming out of the racing world. Remember, it's GoRacingTV.com for all your racing and video needs.
Unique group of spectators observing the Dodge Viper Cup here at the beautiful Hallett Motor Racing Circuit. Look at the eyes on that one. I think you're compelled to put on a good show with that look.
You don't want to make those guys angry. I assure you they're further away from the track than they look, but they look like they're right up next to it. Keith Verge's got a handful here with a newly motivated Richie Hearn as we follow this battle around these very technical corners. Richie Hearn's only got about 2 or 3 places he can actually make the pass, but that doesn't mean he can't annoy Verge's for a little while.
Well, and one of the things with this track, 80 feet of elevation change, and while that is not a lot, it all comes down to where it happens, and that is what makes this track very, very challenging. On board now with Richie Hearn running in the 4th spot, and that is Verges right in front. Hearn doing everything he can at this point. You can see Verges a little bit off of the apex there, and Hearn just hoping to rattle him just a little bit.
And coming into the passing zone now, you saw the first battle that we saw in today's race between the first 2 cars, Schimsk and Keating, started here and ended up at the end of the 2nd bend. So this is what Hearn's trying to do now, set him up. Doesn't look like he's going to get there this time, Greg.
Verges, 3rd in the points, coming in with a 4th and a 3rd in the opening 2 rounds at VIR. Richie Hearn, of course, one of the guest celebrity drivers, if you will. And right now, Verges doing a beautiful job to keep that Viper up front of Richie Hearn, who obviously, you take a look at his credentials, a former Pro Atlantic champion, but that time Verges just a little bit slow in the braking zone, and Hearn attacked big time and looked like he may have floated offline just a little bit, but Hearn actually had to check up enough not to get into the bag of Verges, and that sort of blunted his ability really to take advantage of that opportunity.
You're talking about his credentials. Richie Hearn, first of all, an engine in front, that's kind of unique for his career, and one this big with this much power, you know, probably meets or exceeds anything he's ever driven in an Indy car or an Atlantic car.
But even so, it didn't take Richie long to learn to give it a bit of welly. Look at that, dropping the right rear tire into the dust. We checked in with him a bit earlier.
You know, they were looking for a celebrity driver, so he asked me if I'd come, and I said I'd race lawnmowers if you asked me to. So I've actually been here. I raced a go-kart here back in the mid-'80s, a long time ago, and been here a couple times with my own racing team testing, so I kind of knew what the track was about. And it's a tight track for these cars. They're fast for this track, so it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. I'm really impressed by the car, and you know, I've never driven, you know, a front-engine car like this in this type of conditions, and I'm surprised at how balanced the car is, and it's very smooth on the power and very quick, and brakes are amazing, and it's been, you know, been a real joy, and it's great to just show it to people that it can do this. You know, I hope to run in the top 3, right around there. You know, I just want to put on a good show and be competitive and stay safe, and hopefully, you know, roll the car back into the trailer at the end of the day. But I'm very competitive. I know how I'll be out there, and I'll be trying as hard as I can.
He is very competitive, and he happens to be an incredibly good water skier. Happened to stumble on him water skiing on a little tourist trip to Lake Mead once when he's at home in Henderson, Nevada, and he is competitive, and he shows it right here. Meanwhile, we got some great battling going on a little bit behind those guys as we hop on board with Connie Bogan, currently running in the 11th spot. Oh, nice move!
Runs down the outside of journalist Stephen Cole Smith, giving him something to write about. This is a motivated lady, Connie Bogan. She and her husband have been doing Viper Days events for a number of years now. Now she's at the very top level, racing in the Dodge Viper Cup. She just loves this car, but she's hung on to her old car, and they're developing a bit of a collection of Viper race cars, and why not? What's better than a Dodge Viper race car? 2 Dodge Viper race cars.
Absolutely. Well, this ACR-X, I mean, this series with this car is a great progression, isn't it? If you start off in the Viper League and in the Viper Club Racing, this gives you a real opportunity to step up to something special and really see if you've got it.
Yeah, real prize money, real TV, and the whole works. So it's great to keep it all within the Dodge Ladder family. And Viper Days are, there's 12 or 15 of them a year, and man, they always are a lot of fun to be at. On board with Richie Hearn one more time as he's trying to turn the tumblers on this lock a little bit, see if he can get by and get onto the podium that he predicted.
I'll tell you what, Vergis has to be pretty happy looking in his rearview mirrors and seeing a former IndyCar pilot behind him, and he's been able to fend him off for a few laps now. And as a matter of fact, he's actually opened up about a 2 to 3 car length gap, at least in certain spots on the track, and it looks like they might be reeling in Keating. I think the pace of their little battle here is closing in on Ben Keating.
Keating actually having some overheating problems early on. We get that from his pits and the radio through race control. He's falling back into their clutches. And of course, the farther he comes back, the more clean air is going to get in there. There's newcomer AJ Morgan kind of burst onto the Dodge Viper Cup scene, and he's been very impressive. Early on, we talked to him. They're running a borrowed trailer, just him and his dad and a couple pals of theirs coming in to run Dodge Viper Cup, and they may have been just a little bit optimistic, as they came in now, getting a good run from Connie Bogan as that AJ Morgan car starting to back off just a little bit.
Boy, and Connie is absolutely on the fly right now. Once she picked off that first pass, and it didn't take her long at all to run AJ Morgan down, so Connie is on the move.
Stephen Cole Smith's view from in behind the two of them. Now Cole Smith has an opportunity to re-engage and do a little bit of racing and not just writing about it. Good for him.
Absolutely. There's Connie, there's AJ Morgan, and Stephen Cole Smith, as you point out, behind them. And Connie, boy, once she got in front of that move, she's now able to draw away solidly in the top 10, sitting in 9th. But it's Schimsk, Keating, and Vergis, still your top 3.
Hi there, I'm Tom Natchu, and this is Greg Kramer. We're called the old bastards of racing in many circles. I guess we met back in the late 1980s.
Easy. It had to be at least that far back. Glory day of some racing, too.
Oh, absolutely. Trans Am was a part of the picture, and actually I learned to do pro announcing from this man around the Trans Am Championship. Oh, that is a long time ago.
A very long time ago, but I'll tell you what, you take a look at Trans Am racing in the early 90s in particular, the names that were running at that time. But the other side of the story was World Challenge was really starting to come alive at that point. And the names in that, there were sometimes you'd look at the two rosters and go, I'm not sure which one is the most talent. Some amazing stuff from those decades past. And of course, a lot of those drivers also doubling up, running amateur racing in the runoffs. And it was spectacular stuff.
Now, Go Racing TV has got all of that action. Trans Am World Challenge and even some runoff material all coming up over the next season. That's going to be something to watch.
I know, to be able to relive those 2 decades of motorsports from the Sports Car Club of America's Pro Racing Department, Trans Am World Challenge, and then you include the National Amateur Championships, the runoff, the intense battles that unfolded there. It simply doesn't get any better than that, and it lives again right here on GoRacingTV.com.
Because I need to spend more time in front of my computer.
Welcome back to a very hot, a scorching hot Hallett Motor Racing Circuit for round 3 of the Dodge Viper Cup. Greg Kramer along with Tom Natchu, and we are watching right here Ben Keating sitting in 2nd spot. But Tom, the reports continue to come in that he is struggling with some overheating issues in that car, understandably, with these temperatures, and as a result, you look back from that view right there on board Keating, that's Vergis and Hearn, and they're closing.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly what's going on inside the car. How could we know? But Ben says it's very hot in there. We must get somebody to take a temperature of that if we possibly can at the end of the day. But, it's, as you astutely pointed out, it's not just the Dodge Viper ACR-X that's suffering. The guy inside the cockpit has got to be very hot as well. And if you're not running a cool suit, well, I'll tell you, you wish you were.
All you have to do is take a look at the data on how you slow cook a chicken in a convection oven, and that's pretty much what's going on inside these cars.
That's right. If you stick a thermometer in a filet mignon and it says 160, it means it's medium rare. And I dare say the cockpit temperatures are approaching that. As Vergis now has an opportunity to run up on back of Keating and try to make this into a race, visibly closer now, Greg.
Yeah, he's wrapping it up in a hurry. He's coming after him. And obviously, if that motor is overheating just a little bit, understandably in these temps, that makes it hard to accelerate. And right now, Verge is so close, not quite able to get down and underneath. And he too, as he runs now up on the back of Keating, he's got to make sure he's giving opportunity to get air to that very powerful Viper engine as well. So a bit of a game of chess here.
It really is. You know, it's kind of interesting to see how the heat is affecting this whole chess game. It's not just how you race, it's where you race on the track. And now Ben Keating definitely knows that Verges is there, doing everything he can to hold him off. And did you see Richie Hearn in the background there? He discovered where the headlight switch was, turned them on, a la touring car style, said, boys, I'm still in this.
Boy, and I think Keating just looked in his mirrors and ran a little wide in that long, tight left-hander that just seems to never end as it falls away. He pushed out wide, thought for a minute that Verges might be able to take advantage. Keating able to recover, but boy, I'll tell you, Verges is relentless right now. But that little bobble, notice how close now Hearn is to the back of Verges. So that just compressed everybody, and man, did he get a run. And I think we have finally seen that heat finally take its toll. Hearn going to get down underneath and make the pass on Keating as well. And boy, Hearn is very comfortable throwing that big Viper around, isn't he?
Oh, he's looking great out there, and Ben's doing the right thing. You know, he's probably feeling the effects of the heat and doesn't really want to get collected up in this. He'll live to fight another day, so to speak, and we'll watch to see what exactly he's going to do here. Now, meanwhile, it's the same battle, but now it's on the podium. As Ben Keating, you can see another view there. I think that's Von Quillick quickly catching him up and blowing by in the front straightaway. He's just short shifting that car, trying to get that water circulating, that big V10 engine, and maybe get back in this race.
Yeah, right now he's just trying to get to the finish. Obviously came in leading in the points, trying to salvage something there. And when you're racing in this close quarters action, that's going to happen. And Jim Stow gets a great run on Keating in that Harley-Davidson Viper. And you know, for Jim, this season is a true family affair.
Well, my son is my crew chief, and I have a couple young fellows that work with me, Nate and David, and my sponsor is my wife. This is more like Nelson's Ledges and a few other short tracks that has some elevation changes, quite a bit of turns left and right. It's hard to compare to Virginia because Virginia's a long track with S's, the oak tree, but this has a combination. This has a hairpin in it and has some sweepers. It's a fun little track. The tires get a little tired and it gets hot. We get a little bit of push, so we'll just have to drive accordingly. It may get greasy, but the new stickies are going to compensate, so it's going to be kind of a moving target. We're sponsored with Harley-Davidson Pet Supplies. Harley came to us and we created a whole program for them. So most of the Harley dealerships carry a full selection of Harley branded products, collars and leads and dog beds, and it's been very popular and very well received. We sell them all over the country and parts of the world.
Well, we know Harley fans are loyal, rabid maybe would be a way to describe them. So any kind of a tie-in regarding pets with that line is going to be successful, and obviously Jim doing a great job with it, as is Schimsk. Boy, once Keating had his problems, Schimsk has been able to open that gap up, but now with Keating falling back, and you've got Hearn, you've got Von Quillick, you've got Verges, you've got Stout are all by, well, not much time left. We'll see if they can reel him in. It's going to be tough.
It's going to be a long way. I think we're looking at a diamond in the rough here in Ryan Schimsk. I don't know where he came from. I knew he did some spec racing before he came on here, but he's driving a very smart race, something that you'd see from Dorsey Schrader, something like that. He knows what's going on behind him. He's checking his lap times accordingly. You can see he's still trying, but he's driving a very smart race, and he's keeping that Dodge Viper ACR-X cool like it needs to be.
Well, he's clearly a quick stud. He's third in the opening round of this championship at VIR, wins the second one, so he's got the race pace, as we can see, but now we're seeing racecraft.
Yeah, it's amazing to watch these guys come along. It's one of the great joys about being involved in Dodge Viper Cup, because these guys, virtually none of them have been on TV before. They haven't been exposed, and as you can see here, on board in the Viper Cam with a very slow-moving Ben Keating. I think he's going to pack it in. Yes, indeed, he does. Pulls it onto pit lane. I don't think there's any point of going down pit lane, but we'll see exactly what he does here. Now he's going to make the hard left-hand turn up into the paddock and just call it a day.
Well, Schimsk, Verges, Hearn, your podium, and Tom, you were wondering about the heat in that cockpit a little bit earlier. There it is.
158 degrees, so Ben Keating is a very, very hot man.
The club, an amateur racer. Here at Go Racing TV, we salute you. And we want to give you all the tools and info to compete with the best. Find out how to do it all from your own garage by watching our Club Racer and Autocrosser shows. GoRacingTV.com, supplying all your video racing needs.
Welcome back to a hot and humid Hallett, and off track things are moving a little slow.
Yeah, it's hard enough for us, but how'd you like to have to wear a fur coat in this heat all day long? Back to racing, and we see Ryan Schimsk, and waiting, and Craig, there's your gap.
That's the margin, and look at Richie Hearn taking a run at Vergis. He's alongside, he's inside, he is through. That's a great passing zone into that tight fall-away left-hander. And again, you've got an induced push there, and if you read it right, it can work. Vergis floats a little wide. Here comes Von Quillick up the inside as well, but Vergis not going down quietly, and now Von Quillick finally able to get through and complete the pass. Wonder if Vergis maybe isn't feeling a little of this heat issue as well. Here comes Hearn. Boy, deep on the brakes, Tom.
Well, he just took the track away from him, Greg, and there's nothing that Vergis could do. I mean, Richie Hearn pulled up alongside, and I think it threw off his rhythm, but you might have something a little bit there. He's falling off a lot now, as Keith Vergis may be our next victim to this incredible heat.
Von Quillick comes in here 8th in the points, and obviously looking to move up in that point standing just a little bit as we hop back on board briefly with Richie Hearn. There he is. There's Von Quillick behind him, and then Vergis. Yeah, he's definitely falling off, Tom. 1 to go, closing in on the end of this 3rd round of the Dodge Viper Cup, and right now Ryan Schimsk, he has driven a beautifully judged race. He's just got to get through another half a lap.
He's done a great job of managing those Michelin tires as well. He stickered up for this race, and you have to be very careful in this kind of heat. And he's done a great job. His car looks fast, and it still looks like he's cutting lap times very similar to qualifying. So good for him.
I think what you were talking about is right. You were talking about he was short shifting a little bit, knowing what this heat was doing. He kept those Michelins alive until he could really lean on them, and now he's just carrying the speed instead of using that engine. That's smart.
Yeah, he really is a remarkable young driver. We're going to hear his name a lot more beyond Dodge Viper Cup. There's the gap. Back to Richie Hearn doing a great job himself. Michael Von Quillick in 3rd place.
Well, you almost have to wonder if Hearn had been able to get through things a little bit sooner, what he may have had in hand for Ryan Schimsk. Nice thing is we're going to be able to find out. The 4th round's going to unfold right back here, so we'll be able to see how that works out. Meanwhile, love this onboard shot, Ryan Schimsk. We are on the deck.
You can see this racetrack's just a little bit bumpy as that camera moving around in the front bodywork of Ryan Schimsk's car, but it's part of the thing that gives this place so much character. Onto the straightaway for the last time, Ryan Schimsk, the number 67 as we affectionately refer to the camo car, takes the checkered flag in round number 3.
2 wins and 3 starts so far this year. Not bad. Richie Hearn brings it home in 2nd, and Von Quillick in 3rd. And you can see those 3 had pretty much gapped the rest of the pack at this point.
So now as he does that victory lap, he wishes he didn't have to. I can imagine he's just dying to crawl out of that car, but when he gets to victory circle, he gets a big check, and we'll be waiting for him down there.
And there it is, Ryan Schimsk getting out of that beautiful Viper, obviously taking his time. I'm sure he is hot and tired, but Tom's waiting.
Well, Ryan Schimsk, starting from the pole has its advantages. You were never headed the whole race.
Yeah, this track is very difficult to pass. Most offline positions are extremely slippery. I chose the left lane at the start just in case I had a bad start, which I did, and I was able to defend on the inside line, and we're real happy with the position. So, I can't say enough. Obviously, everybody else had overheating problems. A lot of people did. Motul has just stepped up and gave us this great product to put in our radiator that is, we had no overheating problems the whole race, so basically I just put it into cruise control at that point. So,
up north in Ontario, we do a little ice racing in February. You care to join us sometime?
I think I might jump in a bathtub full of ice right now. It is really hot here, really hot.
Ryan Schimsk finishes up P1. All right, Richie Hearn, you started off this weekend by saying you wouldn't mind finishing on the podium, and that's just what you did.
Yeah, we had a good car and stuff. The car was running really hot there, so I got kind of a bad start. It's been a long time since I've done standing start, so probably like 15 years. So I think I smoked the clutch a little bit, but then I was following that guy in 3rd, and it just was getting hotter and hotter, so I had to back off a little bit, and finally he made a mistake. I was able to get by him, and just thank the guys from Lux Performance and Dodge for inviting me out, and I had a great time and really can't wait till the next race, really.
Lucky for you, that's less than 24 hours.
Yeah.
Richie Hearn, P2. Well, Michael, probably nobody on the circuit saw more action in front of them and then going by the other way than you did.
Yes, I did.
Tell us about your race.
Well, I'll tell you what, it started off real good for us. We got a great start. I was able to get on the inside line of the first corner, and I was able to swoop by a couple of cars in there, and it worked out real well for us. It was a high risk, but it well paid off.
And then throughout the race, of course, everybody had their eye on the temperature gauge.
Well, we were running pretty good. We were just fine. No problems at all with the temperature. It was just a matter of getting going. A new track for us. We've never been here, and so it was gratifying to do well here the first time out.
And there's a shot of the podium, and it may seem a little subdued, but if you'd been baking in an oven for 11 laps or 22 minutes, I think you'd be a little relaxed as well. Let's take a look at the final results here in this third round. Schimsk with a win over Hearn and Von Quillick. See the rest of the layout there. Now let's take a look at the points, and obviously Schimsk gets that second win, opens it up a little bit over Keating. Burgess drops a little bit in third, but the big mover from 8th to 5th is Michael Von Quillick. Nicely done there. And let's keep in mind as well that Connie Bogan up into 6th in the points. So that's going to wrap up our coverage here of this third round of the Dodge Viper Cup from Hallett Motor Racing Circuit. Round 4 coming right back from Hallett as well. Make sure and join us then. For Tom Natchew, I'm Greg Creamer. Take care, everybody.